This documentary video is about flooding. The story begins May 31st, 1889, 125 years ago, the Johnstown flood, where 2,206 men, women, and children died. First, you'll see the final statement, which you're looking at right now, of a PBS broadcast. Then, July 28, 2006, the first flood with no name. You will see news broadcasts of Blue Marsh release and how it flooded Reading. Then 8 years later, 2014, May 1st, the second flood with no name, because every other flood was associated with a hurricane or a tropical storm. Blue Marsh released, causing 5-foot higher crest, the third worst flood on the Schuylkill River. The question you must ask yourself, what have we learned in 125 years? Oh, don't forget the boil water problem for PA American Water Company.
The lesson of the Johnstown flood is this: it's a great mistake, possibly even perilous, ever to assume that because people are in positions of responsibility, they are therefore behaving responsibly. Only Daniel J. Morrell of Cambria Iron had raised questions about the safety of the dam. But by 1889, Morrell was dead. His warnings were heard no more. The tragedy of the Johnstown flood is that it need never have happened. I'm David McCullough. Good night.
Doctor right away, but it can be prevented, of course. Do not bring generators inside the house. And one other reminder, before you start cleaning up from the flood, make sure you have a current tetanus shot and wear gloves as much as possible. As we have been saying over and over, that water is really dirty. We have a lot more information on
Route 724 still underwater, as far as Route 100 as well. Getting to 422 is going to be the trick. Go the long way, go away from the flooded areas and work your way back around. You're going to need to allow some extra time no matter which way you're going this morning. And up here again, portions of 202. All of the bridges, those smaller bridges, I just talked to the representative from the Delaware River Joint Toll Commission. All those smaller bridges still closed. Head for the two biggies, the Scudder's Falls.
Expected to crest sometime later today. The next several hours will be critical.
We still don't know. As the water comes down from New York, we still don't know what's going to happen to the Delaware River, to the Susquehanna, the northern section of the Susquehanna. And we do know that there are 13 counties that are struggling mightily right now.
The emergency declaration presses about 700 National Guards into action to hand out drinking water and other emergency supplies. And more images now from the massive flooding. Let's take you out to Reading, where Chopper 3 captured white waters from the Blue Marsh Dam shooting way into the air. Across town, a fleet of trucks wasn't headed anywhere, going nowhere fast, as this parking lot took on some heavy waters and heavy flooding. In Phoenixville, Montgomery County, a man and his dog are forced to boat their way to safety. Wow, kayakers had the same idea. People tried to save whatever they could from their homes. Some vehicles were able to make it through the Schuylkill overflow. Others, not so lucky.
Yeah, no service on the R6. You can use the Route 100 line here, and no service on the R8 Chestnut Hill West. Again, all due to flooding problems that are now giving us wire problems on the regional rails. Susan, back over to you.
In the Manayunk section of Philadelphia, as you can see, the water overtook the low-lying areas and left part of Main Street underwater.
The Delaware River still yet to crest.
June 2006. This was higher than October of 2005.
Skyforce 10 earlier over a flooded Spring Mill station in Conshohocken, Montgomery County. It's served by the Manayunk-Morristown line, which has been suspended there all day long.
Sydney, one family told you quite the story today. Here we go.
Stand by.
Two families, actually, they both survived Hurricane Floyd in 1999, and they say now to survive several feet of floodwater coming into their homes from the Schuylkill River, they have pretty unique plans in place to get to safety and be one step ahead of Mother Nature.
It's been laid in the back.
Sharon Wood shows us where she, her husband, and her sister spent the night when rising floodwaters forced them to evacuate.
How much water are we talking about?
A lot, almost as much as Floyd. We had 15 feet in the house at Floyd, so it's almost as much. I know I'm going to have to gut my whole downstairs.
Residents of Port Indian, a small community near Norristown, sits right on the river. All of the residents moved their cars to higher ground. Now they're having flashbacks of flooding at its worst.
Floyd was the worst. Actually, that's when we rebuilt. It was 8 feet 9 inches in the house.
For Lynn Waters and her husband, their home becomes an island, but they're making the best of it. A recycled lawn chair rigged with ropes and a pulley system serves as a zip line ride from higher ground over the damage to their front porch.
Fortunately, after Floyd, we built this, build up. So I know that the second floor is okay.
Hopefully I'll be able to get in sometime tonight. It's very difficult right now, but I'm strong. We'll make it. We'll make it.
And that woman, Sharon Wood, fears her basement is full of water right now from the floor to the ceiling. In the meantime, 50 or so residents who live beside the Schuylkill River here, some rescued by boat this morning, have all been allowed to return back to their homes. At its highest, the Schuylkill River was at 21 feet, and emergency officials tell us that it will not return to flood stage about 13 feet or so until about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Live in West Norriton, I'm Sydney Long, NBC 10 News.
Flood warnings out because of immediate flooding happening in Montgomery County, Chester, Newcastle, Delaware, around the Philadelphia area, Burlington, Mercer counties. So as we zoom in here, you can see the flood warnings are up for the Schuylkill River, the Brandywine River, around many different locations. As we go through the rest of tonight, we do expect these rivers to be dropping off. We have many rivers still at moderate to minor flooding. The Neshaminy Creek at Langhorne, though, that is actually normal at this hour. But here is a return to normal for the Brandywine Creek at Wilmington by 10 p.m. tonight, returning to normal. Brandywine at Chadds Ford, Schuylkill at Norristown 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, but the Schuylkill in Philadelphia 9 p.m. tonight. Let's go over the Schuylkill River and its records. Brittany?
That's right. The Schuylkill River, especially at Philadelphia, has made its way into the record books. The normal flood stage is right around 11 feet. But because of yesterday's storm, we've got pretty close to 14 feet. And the last time that's happened, or we've come anywhere near there, was right around Hurricane Floyd. And that was at 14.10. And then the highest the Schuylkill has ever been in Philadelphia is 17 feet. And that was way back. Closer look at our highest rainfall totals. Over 6.5 inches for Spring City. We saw more than 6 inches for Riverton. And at the Philadelphia International Airport, close to 5 inches. So when you add all that up together, we did set a new record for yesterday, April 30th. Inches were already close to 7 inches of rainfall for the year 2014. Jacqueline?
All right, Brittany. Last 2 days, they were using the Cooper River Dam to lower water levels on that river by emptying the water into the Delaware River.
It means everything. It could have meant that this whole area would have been flooded out completely if we didn't take the actions that we did prior to the storm.
Otherwise, everyone on the south side of the Cooper River could have been flooded.
Any community near a river, creek, or stream is trying to recover from serious flooding tonight. And if you want to know how deep the flooding could get, this is the top of a SEPTA bus. The rest is underwater. Thursday night. And the big story on Action News tonight is the fight against flooding in the tri-state area. And after as much as 5 inches of rain, we saw rescues, road closures, stuck vehicles, and damage to businesses. The good news, the floodwaters are finally receding. But this is the way it looked today as firefighters had to come to the rescue of residents at the Venice Lofts apartment along Flat Rock Road in Manayunk. The Schuylkill River rose 4 feet higher than expected along Kelly Drive overnight. That flooded the St. Joseph's Boathouse and ripped up the docks, and the Temple rowing team also lost 2 of its skulls. Action News reporter Eva Pilgrim is live in West North. Where have you been and what have you seen?
Well, Jim, right now we're starting to see kind of a spitting drizzle coming down from the sky. Not exactly what residents here want to see after the night that they had. The Schuylkill River behind me still very high up. So there was water here. If you look down here on the ground now, you can see it's all concrete. The water has moved significantly back. Now just kind of a large puddle back there. And as the water moves out, the people are starting to move back in. Countless people.
Yes, this is Mr. Alexander Mulvaney.
Dealing with the headaches today of an uninvited guest last night. Floodwaters forced their way into the lofts at Valley Forge overnight. Alexander Mulvaney realized it was time to go when he saw the water coming in. This was the water in his stairwell.
It's just right up to my my waistline here, and it just started getting so insane just fighting that current.
The Schuylkill crested at 21 feet, well above flood stage here in Montgomery County. More than 20 people were rescued from the water. Countless cars were abandoned. In Conshohocken, emergency responders helped 75 people out during a voluntary evacuation.
We actually had boats running here last night to do voluntary evacuations of these complexes.
And the residents here have found a lot of mud in places that they didn't really want to deal with mud. Emergency responders telling us, though, that this could have been a lot worse. There's some damage to cars and carpet, but for the most part, everyone got out and everyone was safe. And that's in large part thanks to these complexes here, the lofts at Valley Forge, emailing residents starting as early as 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We're live here in West Norton. Eva Pilgrim, Channel 6 Action News. Jim.
Thank you.
We got a month's worth of rain in one day, really more than a month's, right along the I-95 corridor. This is where we received 4 to 6 inches of rain with the storm. Philadelphia close to 5 inches. Spring City, Chester County, 6.5 inches of rain. And the Schuylkill River crested at its highest levels since Hurricane Floyd back in 1999. Fortunately, the water levels continue to drop. They're receding. They drop below flood stage in Pottstown at 2 o'clock. Should be dropping below flood stage in Philadelphia by 8, and then happening in Norristown by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Norristown had major flooding. Currently, the flooding is minor.
Along the Schuylkill River in East Norriton, residents are trying to clear mud and muck from their properties. But when you live along the river, you adapt. James and Lynn Waters made this zip line. Their elevated house was largely spared, and thanks to this contraption, they were able to bypass the floodwaters and get in and out of their home.
When you're kind of like stuck, you need to be able to come and go.
You ever get nervous riding that thing?
Well, we don't do it that often, but no, actually it's fun.